Evening, everybody. This is the next in our version of the Property Portfolio Solutions webinars. And tonight we're going to talk about the buckets of property investing. Now, property buckets might seem a bit odd to people and what have you, but good. What we're aiming to do for you here is to show you how the buckets can describe the journey to financial freedom. We're going to look at the machinery, the equilibrium that's required for the best performance. And we're going to talk about how we can help you with that equilibrium to get to your financial goals. So who's the webinar for? The webinar's for you guys, because you know that you've decided that property is the way to go. You know that it's the right investment strategy, and you know you want to achieve those goals that you want to get to in the most efficient manner. So again, this time, if you didn't get your special gift last time, we're putting a special gift on for those who stayed at the end. And that's our property investment blueprint, which I created. I've been asked to jazz it up, but unfortunately I haven't had time because I'm on holidays, enjoying my way of wandering around the countryside. I'm presently in Airlie Beach, having a whale of a time. No, the whales don't come up this far, we don't see them. So what does a bucket have to do with property investment? It's interesting that when we talk about property investment or investment of any kind, the concept of buckets comes up a lot. So first we'll talk about the buckets of life. So if you think about working, we go to work, we earn money, we pour it into a bucket. The bucket has holes in it, and they're bills, you could say. So it stops the bucket from filling up as quickly as we might think, because unfortunately we have the whole catastrophe of, bills people want us to pay as we're going along. We've got to have food and rent and all that sort of stuff. But over time, as we start making more money than the bills going out, we end up with an extra amount of income or cash or surplus that we can then use for investment. So what can we do with that? If we invest it properly, we can take the money that comes from that bucket and pour it back into our bucket of life, so that we now have our work income and our rental income working for us, paying our bills and still circulating extra money as we're going along. In time, what we'd hope to think that our investment strategy would get us to the point where the work income doesn't matter anymore. And for some people, that's retirement. For some people, that's utopia. For some people, that's Shangri-La. It doesn't matter what it's called. If we can get to that point of not having to work, or working because we want to, not because we have to, then life becomes a whole lot easier. So with that in mind, Shaun takes that concept and builds it just a little bit further, and we talk about the buckets of investment. So Shaun, away you go.
All right, in my view, when you start investing, we always start from positional awareness, where you're at currently. So you've got the equity bucket, which is pretty much whatever you have at the moment, whether it be property, cash, shares, whatever you've got. So if everything was to get sold tomorrow, there'd be a figure, and that would be an equity figure. And on the other side, what Jeff was talking about was the income figure. Now, what's important is making sure that they're balanced, because banks like to see a balance because of their servicing calculators. So you can go from one property to the next property to the next property, and it means that you don't have to stop. So it's the biggest trick is balancing. So as you can see on this one, if you've got a lot of equity, if your equity's strong, but your income's weak, that means the next best move for the next best property would be an income, like a positive cash flow producing property, so that what happens is you can fill that income bucket to balance it out. And conversely, if your income's really strong and you're short on equity, then it's another strategy. It's a different strategy. It could be an equity producing property, like a duplex. So a duplex, or we've even got houses at the moment that are positive. They'll actually build the thing and it's actually worth more than you pay for it, which is crazy. Never seen that before. Not that I haven't seen it before. It's been a long time since you build a brand new property, just a house, and it's worth more. But what that does is that actually fills up your equity bucket to balance things out. So because someone's strong on income, it still stifles your capacity to borrow simply because the equity bucket isn't full enough. So this is the perfect balance sort of scenario, and this is what we try to create. So when people come to us, we always have this in mind. So the conversation with brokers and with clients, obviously, to create this balance, because every time we put a new property into a portfolio, we always go back to this scenario to make sure that the income and the equity are balanced, to create the capacity to be able to go to the next, and then we balance it up to go to the next, and we balance it up. So you can always keep going. Because what happens is a lot of people, they go into the mindset of negative gearing and they fill a portfolio full of negative gearing, and sometimes that's only 1 or 2 properties. And because that becomes equity strong but income weak, it stifles your capacity to go to the next level, to go to more properties and more properties, to build a more impressive portfolio. So here's one I wanted to change gears a little bit. This is something I'm passionate about, which is mindset. And why do people hold back from investing a lot of times? Or even if you've ever heard yourself say it's too good to be true, or that feeling of why would I do this, or I can't do this, and all this sort of stuff. Back when doctors, scientists, and athletes used to say, there's no way anyone would run faster than under a 4-minute mile. That used to be so-called fact at one time. And the interesting part was, when someone didn't believe that and decided that that wasn't true, they went and beat it. So once they beat it, it was really funny. Within 2 weeks, 13, 14 people beat the 4-minute mile, where it was unachievable up until then. This is a result of, this is a very long-winded definition, but I've found this to be the most accurate definition I've seen. It's called cognitive dissonance. I'll read this out. A mental conflict occurs when beliefs are contradicted by new information. This conflict activates an area in the brain involved in personal identity and emotional response to a threat. The brain's alarm goes off when a person feels threatened, and on a deeply personal and emotional level, causes them to shut down and disagree any rational evidence that contradicts what they previously regularly sees as truth. So all that pretty much says, when you've got a belief in the back of your brain, whether it's from conditioning from growing up, or your life's taught you that you can't do something, can't achieve something, or even if it's just, I grew up in a poor household, and we used to believe anyone who drove through our area in a brand new Commodore was a drug dealer, and anyone who was in a European car was lost. So with that mindset, it's hard to break. It just took a bit of time to break that into the point of, okay, I'm free to go earn money and do what I want. But there was, for a long time, there was always that little nagging feeling that, wealth isn't for me. So breaking past all those barriers helps you achieve what you want. So the way we do, Jeff and I do the wire meeting to create that dream, just helps you look past all the previous mindset blockages to create the way to get from where you are, which is pretty much the buckets. That's a current positional awareness, and then get you to where you want to be. So if anyone feels at any time that they're looking at a really good opportunity, and in the back of their mind, they hear that little voice, or they talk to their friends and go, oh, this seems a little bit too good to be true. It's really good to look into things and educate yourself. And sometimes the education can have your brain look past this cognitive dissonance. But just be aware, sometimes your brain plays tricks on you to keep you where you are rather than moving forward to where you want to be. Cool.
All right. So when it comes to cognitive dissonance and what have you, wouldn't it be nice that if there was someone there to help you? And that can easily be us. And that's what we're trying to say to people. Look, we're not fly-by-night marketers looking just to try and flog off a property to you and what have you. We're there to help people, take them by the hand and take them towards their utopia. It's all about making sure that we can do what we say we do to get you to where you want to be. So understanding you and assisting with the finances is a huge part of what we do. With getting to the what Shaun was talking about is the why meeting, is very much understanding what the number is that we need to get to. So if you think, well, I need a $3 million house on the water and I need an income of $150,000 a year, you can convert that into, with a mathematical formula, sitting down with numbers, you can work out a number that you need to work to say, well, okay, I need $3 million worth of equity to have my house. I need X amount of dollars at 5% to earn $150,000. That's another $3 million. So my target is $6 million. How I get there is actually the very easy part. As Shaun will say, you know, by getting the equilibrium right, getting the whole plan right, once you've got a number, it's really easy to go where you want to go. It's like saying, look, I'm going to go sailing. I sail out the heads. Well, okay, I'm out the heads. Where do I go now? Now, am I going to Auckland? Am I going to Brisbane? Am I going to Melbourne? Well, no, I'm not going to go to Melbourne because it's too bloody cold. I can't go to Auckland because of COVID. So I'm going to go north to Brisbane. Oh, look out, she's going to put a passport thing on there and we're not going to be able to go there either. But that doesn't really matter. As long as we've got the direction we want to go, the plan can happen. If people throw left curves at it, that's not a problem, because like we showed you with the seesaws, it's all about getting the equilibrium right to be able to get to where you want to go. And building your retirement and income, oops, wrong way again, I keep doing it. And then this is the big thing. It's about getting started. Once you get started, we can just do it again and again until your dreams are realized. So once I've got a number to work to, I did this with a client the other day and said, well, okay, we need, your income's low, we're going to need to get you some income first. So we were looking at a property that was going to have a dual income on it rather than a single income, to build up what the bank were going to be able to perceive as what he had as an income. Then go to a property with equity in it to build up his cash reserves, to then do it again and again and again to get to where he wanted to go. And where he wanted to go actually wasn't that far away from where he was at the moment. And that's the other thing. We are told that it takes time, and yes, it does take time, but we keep getting told that it's all about making sure that, oops, I'm going the wrong way again. It's all about being able to solve the cognitive dissonance in your minds to get you to say, well, okay, maybe I've actually got enough. If I've got my superannuation money sitting aside, I've got my equity in my house sitting aside, and you've talked to your financial planner and you've understood what your income level needs to be, it might very well be that if you've got a number of investment properties, flogging a couple of them off, paying the tax on it, will remove the mortgage on your home. I'm now mortgage free, so I don't have to worry about rent or mortgages. I can use my other properties then just to satisfy the income that I need, or I can have a pension out of my superannuation fund. It's a matter of, if we don't know the destination, it's going to be very difficult to get there.
And as Jeff was sort of alluding to as well, the current positional awareness of people is sometimes they don't realise what they're sitting on. We've had plenty of clients who've shown up with their portfolios and they're sitting on old houses that just so happen to be on big blocks of land in areas where you can put 4, 5, 6 units on them. So they're sitting on their retirement. Got a client at the moment who didn't think they'd be capable of building out this little townhouse development. It's only 5 in Newcastle, but they didn't realise that they could do it, and 2, they had the financial capacity to do that thing. So it can kickstart your whole journey straight away. You don't have to buy anything new. We can just manage the process for what you've already got and then build on it and then go from there. Because that's going to be a massive springboard, because they've got $1 million property, a block of land, and it's going to cost about $1.8 million in construction. And these things are going to be worth well over 800-900 grand each. So it's a really cool idea to have a look at where you're at, because sometimes the gold's not that far down, right? Just scrape the surface and you can see what you really need to know.
But like I said before, it's all about knowing your dreams. That's why we spend so much time in what we call our why meeting, getting and working out what people really want. It's funny sometimes to say, well, what sort of income do you need? Oh, I can live off the smell of an oily rag. But what about the overseas holiday? What about, you know, things for the kids as they're coming through? You know, if you think about stuff now, it's really easy to create numbers for those sort of things in the future. The only problem at the moment is for you guys is time. You know, if we can build it for you, we can make the dream come true. That's not a problem. The only issue is time. The time between now and when you want things to happen. So you've really only got two options. You do nothing or you start investing. And all that means is you're either going to rely on a government pension or you're going to set yourself up and be in control of your own life or yourself. It's up to you. That's all the main part of what we wanted to talk about today. What we wanted to do more than anything else is to talk to you guys. What sort of questions that you might have in relation to what we do so that we can bring to you a better understanding of us. You guys all know us personally. You know that from our ideals, empathy, integrity, transparency, and connection are our four main ideals when it comes to business. We don't do anything outside the rules. There's no point trying to break the rules in order to get somewhere. All it'll do is come back to bite you in the bum. We're the sorts of people who don't mind getting the calls at ridiculous hours of the evening, although I tend to go to bed early. But if you've got a problem where the first thing we say to you is drop us a line, tell us about it, we'll sort it out. And you know, holding your hand all the way is not just words. Now, we're doing stuff at the moment for clients who have just basically said to us, look, there's the profit, there's what I need to do, just go and do it for me. And all they need to do is to get their finance sorted out each time. And then because we're using our guys with the finance applications, no, we're not breaking the rules there either. We just got very good finance guys who don't talk at a retail level, they talk at a wholesale level at the bank, so that things that might seem to be difficult for an ordinary broker become an easy outcome to someone who knows what they're talking about. Shaun, you want to add to that?
No, that's all good, mate. I'm ready to answer some questions. Let's see if we can inspire some pretty cool conversation.
Has anyone else got a question that might be absolutely relevant? Hi, Sue Kelly. How are you today?
I've got a question, Jeff.
Yep, fire away.
So with investments, I just want some clarity. When you guys say that you have a look at what I want to achieve, and then you say, and we'll design something towards that, do you take in what I think I need, or what factual evidence will give me what I want faster?
Oh, that's a good question. My answer to that is, I start with what you think you need, and then I will talk to you about how you got to that number, so that I can get to the number that I need to work to. So if you say, well, hang on, I want a house on the hill worth $5 million, and I don't want a mortgage, that's a given, that's fine. So there's $5 million into the pot that I've got to deal with. Then it's a matter of saying, well, hang on, how much income do you need to earn without having to lift a finger yourself? Now, if that's $2,000 a week, or it's 10 grand a week, or whatever, all I really need to do, if I can get you a rental return of 5% on cost, then if I'm saying $2,000 a week, that's $100,000 a year. I really only need $2 million worth of other equity to generate that 5% to give you that $100,000 a year. So therefore, I'm then looking at $7 million worth of total equity that I need. Then Shaun goes to work and starts saying, well, hang on, okay, in order to get there, I'm going to have to do the bounce between the income and the equity type properties as we're going up the steps towards your goal. And it might very well be that at some stage you've got 20 properties on the go, or done, or whatever, and then we will decide, well, hang on, how do I then get back to my utopia? Well, then I can sell some of the properties I've got, pay off my mortgage. I've got other properties there earning me my income that I need to live on. I can effectively walk away from work.
Was that the question you were asking, Gil?
Yeah, in a roundabout way. Yeah, I really understand it, because correct me if I'm wrong, what I've understood from your answer, Jeff, is when you get to the point where you understand my position, you guys will just do all the research with all the factual information to give me the best opportunity so that I can feel more comfortable about moving forward with getting to my goal. Is that right?
Absolutely. That's how we do it.
Great.
And the other thing is, in time, if the why changes, if what you want at the end of like for retirement or whatever it is you want to invest for, if that changes along the way, we just change the figures and it just changes a few clicks on how we get there. So, but that's all stuff we work out in time every time we take another step. Does that make sense?
I'm doing one for a client at the moment who's got a whole heap of cash available. So what we're doing is we're leveraging him into a number of properties to build equity because we can. So he'll do 5 properties in the next 7 years, and he'll make close enough to $2 million out of that after tax. Then we'll take that $2 million, add it to the equity in the house that he's got already, and go and buy him an unencumbered house where he wants to live. Then for the next, because he's only a young bloke, for the next 15 years, we can start then building property income to give him, he reckons he wants $500,000 a year as an income, to get him that $500,000 a year. So that's $10 million worth of property. That's not a difficult thing if you've got the time to do it.
Yeah, he's young and he's got quite a good income too. So he's a pretty easy client to get to that stage.
Yeah, him and his wife were on about 400 grand a year. Didn't hurt at all.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Thanks for that. That helps.
Like we said at the start, getting people to verbalise what they want is probably the hardest part of our job.
Mm-hmm.
You, for instance, you've speaking out of school a little bit, you've bugged out of Victoria and moved up to Queensland.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've probably still got a mortgage on your place up here. Getting that paid off and getting an income to just support the lifestyle that you and your wife and your kids you want. It's about putting those dreams into a number, because once you've got a number, it's just a mathematical game then.
Yeah, got it.
Cool. Anyone got any more questions?
No more.
I have a question. I always struggle to find the balance between when is the time to play duplex and when is the time to play long-term holding, getting the rental income. How we manage it by like a different stage of life or financial capability. How do we balance this two different way of playing properties?
Yeah. Hi, Yvonne.
Hi, Shaun.
To me, it depends on one. Once you've got that figure for the goal, we've always got to think about that. Sometimes when you do a duplex, like you're saying, you get the equity uplift, which you've done a few of, and you get that profit. Sometimes that profit, if it's in an area that's continually growing, sometimes it's better to keep the property so that as the values go, you can just refinance that property, pull more money out to go to the next. Other times, if it's in an area that's not going to grow, you're better off just liquidating the asset, sell the asset, so you take all the money out and take it into other areas. It depends on the area and it depends where you want to go. But if you get to a point where you've got all the equity you need and all you're doing is working on growing income, that's when you start throwing different properties in. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Thank you, Shaun.
Too easy, one.
Very good.
It's interesting that some people like to go beyond where the utopia is, and you can do that quite easily if you've got the time. Once you've got yourself to the point where the income bucket doesn't need to come from personal exertion anymore. There's lots you can do. It's a matter of getting there and being able to take that bucket away that allows you then to really play the game. But playing the game in the short term is all about getting to the number. I know it sounds very cold about how we deal with things, but seriously, if we can take the heart out of what you're trying to do, which is invest. You don't live in your investment property. We have a number of people saying, "Oh, do I have to check the colours and all that sort of stuff?" No, you don't. We'll do all that. We'll even get the tenant in there for you, and then, or put the thing on the market for you and get it sold. We do that because we can. It's very easy for us to stand and look at things. Being an accountant for so long, I can sit there and look at the numbers and I can make the numbers make sense. It's when you start putting the heart into things that things become a problem. Would you not agree, Shaun?
I agree fully to a point. Absolutely, through the investing portion, trying to have getting too personal about the property part. I agree. It's all about numbers. It's all spreadsheet. My funny little saying is, if I could make money putting a dunny on the moon, I'd be putting a dunny on the moon. It doesn't really matter in that end. But the heart and the focus for me is always on that vision, that why vision. The reason why we love people to look at that and it's really important to get out of people what's really important to them. For some people, they want a Ferrari and a mansion. Me personally, I'd be happy with a ride-on mower on a bit of acreage with a nice view. So with chooks and some animals, that's my why. That's my in place. That's where I want to sit on a ride-on mower.
But he wants a V8 in the mower.
So that's the part where we like people to invest some emotion, is in that end goal, in that end pitch. Not the goal. The goal's the figure, the dollar figure, but it's that picture, that why, that vision of what you want to create for yourself. That's the important one. That's probably the only place through this process is to put emotion for me. So if people can focus on that, you'd be surprised if you focus on your vision, how easily you get to where you want to be.
Exactly right. And I see Ian McTighe has joined us. You there, Ian?
I think I am.
Oh, good. Good. How's all things in the McTighe world these days?
COVID recovery and business recovery finally sort of coming to light. So things are getting better, mate. How are you going with how's your trip?
We're in Airlie Beach at the moment, but that's not what we're here to talk about.
Have you been down the pool at the beachfront with half of Europe?
No. Half of Victoria, you mean?
Oh, sorry.
No. It's interesting that I singled out Ian because Ian's at the start of what he wants to do. Being an engineer, he's a bit colder when it comes to the numbers, but it's still a matter of getting him to dream what the number is. Getting him to dream what utopia is, and then I can turn it into a number, and then we can work out how to get there. It's interesting, but is there? I noticed there's no one else has joined us, and like I said earlier, I made a mistake and email blasted a whole heap of people. Thought it was going to be 7:30.
Lucky you're good at spreadsheets, eh, Jeff?
Silly of me, but
shit happens.
Lucky I'm good at spreadsheets, exactly. But kill it there rather than just ramble on.
Hey boys, I've got a question about the buckets.
Yes.
So, I get the whole concept of buckets. When I'm thinking about my personal position and my investment position, is it a good idea for me to do buckets like multiple categories or multiple buckets? Or do you just have the one bucket that you fill as a total and then you say, oh yeah, I've got this hole here and that's the category? Does that make sense?
Yep, and I can answer that question is with whatever floats your boat, mate.
Yeah, awesome.
Because again, it's your plan, it's your vision, and it's our plan to get you there.
Mm.
All right. So if if you come up with, and we want to turn it into buckets, then yeah, there might be a number of buckets you want to have to get to where you want to go. But at the end of the day, it's that bottom bucket we want to fill up, isn't it?
Yep, got it.
So if you have other businesses that you want to invest in as well as doing property stuff, we'd love you to be doing all property, but with a mind like yours, obviously getting to and doing other sorts of things will certainly help you get there even faster than what we can possibly get you there. And it all works together.
Yep, I hear that. Thank you. I've got one more question, if you don't mind.
Fire away.
So when I think of property investment, like I grew up with commercial properties. I personally found that they were quite good for me, just my character and how I handled them. There's so many little things that I just didn't know about until I experienced them. And when I hear you guys talk, it's like you would actually sit down and go, here are all the risks, and this is how you prepare for all those risks. But you don't say that, hey, I'm going to show you all of them so you never have any problems. Am I right in my thinking that these buckets and this approach is how to manage the best approach for you, whether it be commercial or residential, whether it's high risk, low risk, and for you guys, you help me understand how to take responsibility for any downfall that may occur if it occurs at all. Is that what I'm hearing from you guys?
That's your question, Shaun.
Accountants, no freaking personality, man.
No, mate. So what? If I understand what you're saying, what your question is, it's do we explain the ups and downs and the risks and rewards? Yeah, absolutely. I'm more from the res space. I do versions of commercial with developments with people. Currently have student accommodation going on, which is it's commercial, but there's people still living in it. But we always discuss what the risks are, and people need to be aware of those risks. Now, we can de-risk things as much as possible by getting as much information up front and understanding the market the best as possible, best we can. But at the end of the day, if the world all falls apart, then the world all falls apart. But touch wood, always seem to be putting people in the right place so far. So I'm pretty happy with that sort of record. But if anyone needs things, has any question about risk versus rewards, I suppose the reason why I like what we do with res property is I've been doing it for so long. I don't really do anything that's all that risky. But again, in investing, there's always a chance that something can happen.
Yeah, the other side of the coin too, Gil, is that if you're looking at commercial property tends to be a bit more volatile than residential property because people always will need some place to live. I've seen guys buy commercial property, and when it came time for them to sell it in order to be able to retire, it hadn't gone up. It had gone up, but it had come back down at that particular time because there'd been a lull in the economic growth of the area. Residential property tends not to be as volatile, which is why we tend to aim there. But like Shaun says, there's nothing for us to be looking at student accommodation or something like that if it fits the risk profile of the person we're talking to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I get it.
So
see, I knew you'd get the question. I knew you'd get the question.
Can't shut me up, I know. I get into trouble all the time. All right. So you've exhausted all your questions now, Gil?
Oh no, I wrote two more down, but I think I get the idea. It's I might as well. The last question I had was, the last question I wrote down was, when I'm thinking about, I like this bucket concept. I think it's a really good concept. When I'm thinking about bucket and I'm thinking about what I want to achieve, how do I go about giving myself a reality check without you, so that when I do come to talk to you about it, I'm ready? Does that make sense? Because I would rather, I don't need to know everything.
Can I say?
Yeah.
Yeah, can I say don't? Because I think we get back to cognitive dissonance, if I can pronounce that properly, and I haven't had a drink yet. Those sorts of things will actually get in the way. What you're trying to do, it sounds to me, Gil, is to put walls up to stop you getting over them. One of the things from a mindset point of view is, in order to be able to clear the mind, we can give you as much information as we can possibly get on a particular investment and go from there. That's all fine. But if you go down to the pub and the guy at the pub says, "Oh, no, I wouldn't invest there," automatically there's a wall. One of the worst things we see as we're dealing with people is the throwing of walls up when they're not really there. Yes, and if you were here at the webinar before last, where we talked about baby steps rather than eating an elephant.
Yeah.
A lot of people see elephants in front of them when they're not really there. The joke riddle is, how do you eat an elephant? You eat it one bite at a time. Well, why not walk around the damn thing rather than try and walk through it? And we're deadly serious about holding people's hand and helping them around whatever obstacles they feel. Now, we've got a couple of clients who we bought 2 properties together. Side by side, we're going to put 4 duplexes across the 2 properties. They didn't realise that in New South Wales, that meant an increment in stamp duty over and above the 2 properties being together. That wasn't a problem. We discussed it with them, told them what was going on. It came up accordingly. The stamp duty, again, because the 2 properties were together, even though they were owned by different people, because they were within, I think it's 500 metres of each other, that the stamp duty was different to a normal property. Again, as soon as they raised the issue, we said, well, hang on, went through it, talked them through the whole thing. They're wrapped in the properties, by the way. They're about to start turning dirt on them, and they should be finished by Christmas, shouldn't they, Shaun?
Before goes.
So what I'm hearing from you, Jeff, is instead of making the effort to put stuff in my bucket, just go, hey, Jeff, Shaun, what's in my bucket? Let's work it out. This is what I want.
Exactly. Sometimes you need to have a conversation. We also like to have people talk to one of our brokers to actually find out which bucket needs to be filled first. So it's a conversation around that whole thing, knowing exactly where you're at. Because some people don't realise that they might have, the credit card, for instance, for every for every $1,000 of credit card. Sorry. For every $1,000 of credit card, that's $9,000 of borrowing capacity you've lost. So if people got a $20,000 credit card, that's $180,000 in borrowing capacity gone, just because of, and a lot of people pay them down to nothing, and they have them sitting there for the just in case, but they don't realise things like that. So all those sort of bits and pieces are all cleaning up the start. And like I said, some people are sitting on properties that could very easily be converted into something much more than what they are to get their portfolio started, or even just continue on with it. So I appreciate the question, Gil, because a lot of people would just try and fix the problem themselves, but they don't understand what the solutions are, a lot of people. And that's not their fault. It's just that they're not in the game. And it's just a matter of seeing what's there with a different set of eyes sometimes. It's like being in a room in the dark. You don't know what's in the room until you turn the light on. Once you've turned the light on, that's hopefully what we can do in a conversation around our why meeting. Once you turn the light on, it's amazing what you can find in that room. Mm.
Awesome.
Come on, I know you got another question, Gil.
No, I'm good, mate. That you actually answered the 2 questions there. I wrote down 7 questions in total, so I'm really satisfied.
Thanks, mate.
Anyone else got a question now that Gil's expended himself? Well, I might finish it up there. Thank you everyone for coming tonight. We're going to be having another one in a couple of weeks. It's probably the 2nd week of July. and I'm negotiating with Mr. Francois himself to talk about some things. He might be joining us on this side of the thing rather than on the other. So we'll look forward to seeing you there. Thank you, everybody, and I'll catch you in the future.
Hey guys, if we can put that thing together with Gil, I've known Gil for a very, very long time, and it'll be an absolute treat. And you should be inviting all your friends. Trust me, be very much worthwhile. But thanks for coming, guys.